introduce now three gentlemen. I'll just introduce them at one time, and then they'll proceed to make the presentations. But they've agreed to make presentations that kind of fit together about, we have an ample supply of older buildings, and they have some ideas of what we can do with that. And so John Hassler from NewMarkGrubbZimmer will speak first, and then John Miller Jr. From Store Safe Warehouses will speak. And then Dana Gibson, who has had property in North Kansas City, doesn't currently, but has invested a lot of years and passion, has some great ideas. He's going to speak to us also on some ideas that could be really helpful. John?
Well, Rich, thank you for having me, and pleasure to visit with everybody. I'm hopeful what I'm going to talk about today is applicable really to a number of people in this room. I might start just by telling you very quickly about my firm, and see if we can get our slideshow working here. There we go. I'm with NewMarkGrubbZimmer, and I'm an industrial real estate broker with Newmark. And if that Newmark name doesn't strike really a chord with anybody, we were Zimmer Real Estate Services for 65 years. And now we have offices, our main office is here in Kansas City. We have an office in St. Louis, and we have really developed a large suite of commercial real estate practices, which would include development management and property management, and a very robust brokerage service department. And we have offices now with our affiliation with Newmark all over the country and all over the world. But our beginnings are rooted very much here in North Kansas City. The chairman of my company is a fellow by the name of Hugh Zimmer. And Hugh started developing industrial buildings in North Kansas City 70 years ago. And North Kansas City has always been very important to our firm. We very much enjoyed the relationships and the business that has been created from our time in North Kansas City. And so with that, what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is what we can do with these industrial buildings. There's really so much of it in North Kansas City as it would relate to keeping them functional. And Dana and John are going to have really some very neat ideas on perhaps repositioning these assets to totally new uses altogether. But as it relates to North Kansas City and why people choose to come here and locate their businesses from industrial perspective, really this is something that most of you in the room can tell me about. But when we hear from our clients, why do we want to be in North Kansas City? The first comment is it's centralized. And that's been the case for 100 years. It is centralized of a location from an industrial standpoint, as you can find in the metro. And all the while, it doesn't have the earnings tax that our friends to the south across the river employ. So people love that about North Kansas City. Our clients have been very receptive to the Link City program. The high-speed fiber optic network that North Kansas City invested in has paid great dividends for our tenants. And North Kansas City generally has been a very friendly place from an industrial standpoint to work. The city has been very supportive. And then to top all that off, there's excellent access to employees, and people love the amenities of North Kansas City and their surrounding areas. So for that reason, North Kansas City has always been, go back there, has always been a very good home for our tenants. That said, the blessing and the curse of North Kansas City is, like I mentioned, it's been that way for 100 years. And North Kansas City has been built out for a long time from a development standpoint. We track at our firm every industrial building in the Kansas City metropolitan area above 10,000 feet. And our numbers tell us that there's just over 300 industrial buildings in North Kansas City. That equates to just over 18 million square feet of industrial square footage in North Kansas City. And the facts are North Kansas City and the industrial real estate market is very strong, very healthy. There's a total market vacancy of just over 4%, which is excellent. Kansas City in general, the industrial market vacancy rate is above 6%. So we like seeing that. The net absorption year to date in North Kansas City is positive, and by net absorption, that's the amount of people moving into space less the amount of people moving out. and that's positive. The good news for our area as a whole is, although we've seen 80,000 feet north in Northtown, across the entire metro this year, we're approaching 2 million square feet in a positive direction of absorption. So we're happy about that. Where we run afoul a little bit in North Kansas City, however, is what this next chart may describe. We break down industrial buildings into 3 classes: Class A, B, and C. And to us, a Class A industrial building is one with ceiling heights above 30 feet, ESFR sprinkler systems. Oftentimes, there's a cross-dock type of loading configuration. These are newer and the most modern and sophisticated industrial buildings that can be built. In all of Kansas City, in all of the Kansas City metro, just over 4.5% of the industrial product falls into that Class A. However, that number's up almost 2 points from a couple of years ago. We think that there will be another couple of points added to that this year, and it will continue to rise. Just as development goes, we will continue to see this Class A product put onto the market. In North Kansas City, however, there's not one Class A industrial building that exists. And again, that's not an indictment on North Kansas City, but the facts are this was the easiest and most understandable place to develop for 100 years. And today, there's not large tracts of land that a developer can acquire and build one of these Class A facilities that would be easier than going out to Johnson County or going north of the river up by the airport and finding a greenfield site. And so we've got Class B and Class C. And Class C, really, we qualify as buildings that are 30 years old or perhaps older. They've got poor column spacing, they've got poor loading, lower ceiling heights. And again, in Northtown, we've got a lot of that product. And we will see this Class B part of our graph transition further into Class C as we go forward. So really the question becomes, if we're going to continue to own and operate these buildings, how do we keep them efficient? How do we keep them functional? And how do we keep them from falling into really an obsolete category? And so what we'll do is go over 6 very quick and easy strategies. I might mention that this is certainly not a one-size-fits-all scenario. Each of these buildings requires a lot of forethought, and none of these scenarios will be perfect for every building. But these are ideas that our firm has used in our buildings and ones that our tenants have been really very receptive to. The first idea that we would have for you is as simple as relamping the inside of these industrial buildings. And we saw the comment about what North Point Development did to their building, which included an entire relamping and retrofitting of the lighting, and we couldn't agree more. We want to be able to have these buildings project such a clean look that North Kansas City Hospital would be our tenant. And one of the easiest things to do is take down those old metal halide fixtures, come back in with a T8 or a T5, or even see these LED lights, and project a very clean look. There's oftentimes a payback by way of rebates and energy efficiency savings. We like putting motion sensors on, and that will very quickly project a more modern look. And along that same thought process would be paint. And when we get buildings back, we immediately break out the paintbrush. And certainly there's some exterior painting that we do, but where we really highlight it is on the interior walls of the building. We throw white paint anywhere and everywhere we can find. And that would even include the roof deck, and get rid of years of cobwebs and dust and residue, and paint that entire facility white. We go into the columns, and about 10 feet up, we'll paint the columns bright yellow, which again is a modern look and also assists from a safety standpoint for passing fork trucks. But immediately, if you can brighten your building, you're stepping in the right direction. This next idea is certainly one that you've got to think through, but when you think about when a lot of these buildings were built, again, 20, 30, 50 years ago, a number of them have office configurations that just aren't the way that people want to work today. Back when these buildings were built, frankly, there was a much heavier office contingent. So we like to go in and totally scrape those offices at times and offer a build-to-suit alternative that then we can take the cost of and amortize back through our lease rate with an interest rate attached. But it can take you back to really a more efficient layout and preserve more of your warehouse space, which is really where the profitability of your building exists. From there, loading. And loading is a problem in North Kansas City. If you spend time in the Paseo Industrial District, it doesn't take you long to get stuck behind a 53-foot tractor trailer. There's not a lot you can do about that. The truck traffic has increased, and those volumes are going up. But what you can do is clean up the loading you've got. And that may be dock shelters, that may be dock locks, hydraulic pit levelers, anything to modernize the existing doors that you've got is a real plus. And if you can knock additional doors in, or if you can even create a cross-dock configuration which allows for maximum product throughput in one of these buildings, that's excellent. That's oftentimes costly and difficult to do. So we like just cleaning up the doors that we do. And then as far as your parking lot goes, we live in a climate, and now the volume of truck traffic is such where parking lots are a very difficult thing to maintain. And it's not always right to do a total overlay of your parking lot, but what we do tell our clients is make sure your lots are sealed, cover up those potholes, and then look at your traffic plan. If you can go in with a can of paint and create a more efficient traffic layout, more employee parking, and allow for these larger trucks coming into the buildings to come in more efficiently, that's the right way to do it. And then our final idea, it's funny, in the commercial real estate business, we really try to stay away, for whatever reason, from some of the old adages of residential real estate. But the facts are, curb appeal is the next one on the list from location, even in these industrial buildings. And when we take clients around, and we pull up to the industrial building that's got weeds and it's got long grass and the brush is out of control, they don't often say, the reason we crossed that off the list is because it was ugly, but it always is crossed off the list. And so as simple as it is running an exterior maintenance program, perhaps creating some monument signage, or some signage on your building to give your tenant a presence. All of those things go a long way. So with that, I will turn it over to John, but those are some ideas to keep your industrial building